5 Republican senators broke ranks and voted with Democrats to rein in the president's war powers when it comes to Venezuela. They advanced a resolution that would limit future U.S. military force in that country, meaning troops cannot go in without congressional approval. The full measure, poised to pass next week. President Trump not happy about this, saying the Republicans who voted for this War Powers Act should never be elected to office again. Venezuela says at least 100 people were killed during that raid last weekend when then-President Nicolas Maduro was captured, a raid Congress never had the chance to approve. California Governor Gavin Newsom delivered his final State of the State address on Thursday. Remember, he's term limited. He drew a sharp contrast between California and what he called the carnival of chaos in Washington. Newsom spoke for more than an hour, laying out his budget priorities, criticizing the Trump administration, and defending California's economic and cultural successes, in his words. The governor said his administration created a blueprint that other states can follow.
But in California, we're not silent. You're not silent. You're not hunkering down. We're not retreating. We're a beacon. The state is providing a different narrative, an operational model, a policy blueprint for others to follow. This state, this people, this experiment in democracy belongs not to the past, but it belongs to the future.
Newsom is closing out his second term. We'll see if that ends with him announcing a run for president. Joining me now to talk about all of this and more is civil rights attorney Lisa Bloom on the left, and on the right, John Kobylt, the host of the John Kobylt Show on KFI AM 640 here in Los Angeles and the iHeartRadio app. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
People see this issue of immigration so differently, and they see these stops so differently. You've worked on these cases before in court. How do you see, let's start with the incident in Minneapolis, because that we've actually seen the video of.
That's right.
What do you see when you see that?
So I've litigated a lot of excessive force cases, and what's the most important thing to a jury is going to be those videos. And a jury is going to look at all of those videos. Of course, if it ever gets to a jury, if the officer is even charged, there will certainly be a civil case. And what I see looking at those videos is a car that is turning. Now, let's remember, the officers are very close. The officer who shoots is very close. The only way a car can turn is if the woman is turning the steering wheel of the car. He had to see that. Now, police officers cannot shoot to kill because they're angry, because she didn't follow commands, because she's obstructing traffic, because they don't like her, because she's not listening to them. We do not have the death penalty in America for any of those things, and especially law enforcement does not administer the death penalty just because they're angry. So I see her turning away. I don't see justification for deadly force against this young American citizen.
What do you see, John?
Well, he can shoot to kill if he reasonably thinks he's getting run over by the car. And we don't know what his perspective is. He was in front of the car. I mean, the bullet went through the front windshield, so obviously he was in front of the car. If from his angle, he thinks he's going to get hit, run over, sideswiped, of course he's going to shoot. If I was in his position, I would shoot too.
Well, and he has been hit by a car in the past. How does that impact this whole thing?
It has no impact. He still has the same level of responsibility. And no, you don't just get to shoot because you think that maybe the car is coming towards you.
Yes, you do if you think your life is in danger.
No,
Yes,
you don't. Police officers and ICE officers have a legal...
That's not
well,
true.
One of us, excuse me, John, you can try to shout over me. But one of us has actually litigated these cases.
That's
they have a legal obligation to de-escalate.
They don't have a legal obligation to die.
Save
they don't have to
life.
die by. They don't have to commit suicide.
Step back, and he knows.
Step back. You have a fraction of a second.
Okay, and not to take a life of a woman who has no history of violence, is a poet and a mother. Come on, she wasn't trying to kill anyone.
So you think he's not going to be convicted criminally because there's not going to be a case brought against him, most likely?
First of all, we only have another federal agency, the FBI, who is handling this case. They've said that the state and the locals cannot do it. Why? Because they're trying to cover it up. Who runs the FBI? Kash Patel, who answers to Donald Trump. Right. Donald Trump has already given an opinion in this case. Let's keep in mind what used to be normal in situations like this, that the president would say, I'm very sorry for the family. We're going to have an investigation. We're going to let law enforcement play out. Instead, what he said is, she ran over the officer. I think we can all agree that's a lie. She did not run over anyone.
She did not run over the officer.
So Trump
lied. He thought he was going to get run over. And so he's got to make that split decision.
We don't know because we haven't heard from him.
Well,
That's
of
right.
course he's going to say that. They know that that's what they're supposed to say.
But in terms of the immigration itself and immigration enforcement, I think is the most divisive issue in all of American politics. The Rorschach's test of having one side saying this is a domestic terrorist and the other side saying it's a murderer.
And why is this? Because what Trump is doing is enforcing the laws that have been on the books for many decades. And when Democrats had every level of power in government, they had the presidency, the Senate, and the House, they never changed the laws. And the president has always had total discretion on how to enforce the law. He's not doing anything illegal by enforcing the law. He was voted into office largely on that issue. People are just not used to seeing immigration law being enforced.
The president can't just do anything he wants to enforce the law.
But isn't there, Lisa, a legal right for them to go in? I mean, all these local agencies that are saying, get the F out of our city.
Not in the way that they're doing it with the masked agents. Look at this woman. I put myself in her shoes. She's got, what, half a dozen armed men in masks surrounding her car.
I have a radical idea.
Let Lisa make her point.
Of course she wants to get out of there, right?
Yeah.
And listen, I live here in Los Angeles. We have many, many immigrants. When ICE was here, I felt terrible for my friends and neighbors who had been here for so many years, who were getting dragged off by these masked agents. Of course it's upsetting to people.
She knew exactly who they were. She was a professional protester. She was an activist.
She's not that has not been proven at all.
Look at the New York Post this evening.
New York Post.
Oh, you'll see it's true. She belonged to ICE
source.
Watch. She and her wife were tailing.
Yes,
most of these groups are funded. A lot of these protesters are paid.
Does that mean she deserved to die?
That you're changing the subject.
No, I'm
My
not.
point is, you were claiming she didn't know who these masked men were.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes, she knew who they were.
I never said she didn't know
and I have
who
an
they
idea.
were.
Here's something really
I said
radical.
It's terrifying
Here's
to be
something.
surrounded
Let me
by
finish.
them.
Here's something radical. When they tell you to get out of the car, shut down the engine, put your hands up, and get out of the car.
And you want to have the death penalty if she doesn't do that?
I didn't say that, but
Because
that's what I do, and that's what you do.
Both can be true, though, right?
Every day, people don't comply with law enforcement orders.
Yeah.
Of course, it's better to do that. They can take her license plate. They can go to her home and arrest her later. They do not need to shoot her for that.
Let's talk about another issue of the day, which is the Governor Newsom and the state of California. Governor Newsom is seen by many as a frontrunner to be the next president of the United States, who has talked very openly about a very different approach when it comes to immigration, a very different approach to everything. He called California today a blueprint, policy blueprint for the others to follow. John, do you think California is the policy blueprint the country needs to follow?
Well, let's go through the blueprint. We have, by far, the most homeless in the country. I think we have half of the unsheltered homeless.
25%.
We got the highest income taxes, highest sales taxes, highest gas taxes. We're paying $2 more than in Oklahoma right now. We got the highest housing costs, highest rental costs. I mean, I can go on for quite a while there. So what's the blueprint? Everybody's going broke in this state. We got the highest unemployment rate. We got the highest inflation rate. So what's the story here?
Well, I think the economy is booming in California. I have actually walked the entire length of California on the Pacific Crest Trail, talked to people in big cities and small towns, and I can tell you, this is a beautiful state. We do have high gas prices. Why? Because we used to have a lot of smog in LA, and a lot of the taxes go to reduce the smog. We very rarely have that anymore. We encourage electric vehicles,
a lot of it goes
which is
to
what
the
I
global
drive.
warming. That whole scam. The
that
nonprofit
99% of scientists agree is
wait
real.
a second.
That we all experience in the heat waves. Yes.
Than Oklahoma.
So get an electric car like I have. I haven't bought gas in 50 years.
I'm not going to get an electric car. I want to drive my SUV, and I shouldn't have to pay.
With that.
Where's the money going? It's like the $24 billion that disappeared for homeless.
I can tell you, John,
there's tens of billions of dollars that have disappeared into these climate
Why does
schemes.
everybody come here? Because the state is gorgeous. Because it is efficient.
What?
Do we have problems?
Sixth year in a row, U-Haul says California is the #1 state for people leaving.
That's not true.
Well,
that is absolutely not true.
The facts show that last year California had people
rush
come
hour
here.
lately?
There's maybe some people need to leave. Los Angeles, though, we just had the 1-year anniversary yesterday of the fires that devastated something. And there was a lot of mistakes that led to those fires. You went to a rally that was called They Let Us Burn. And Spencer Pratt, who a lot of people know from his reality TV show days, was a Palisades resident, lost his home, lost his family's home, has been all over this issue, and announced he's running for mayor. This is what he said to you.
First, it's negligence. I think there's just a lot of stupid people running these positions. And then I also think they don't care.
What do you think of Spencer for mayor?
You know, everyone's saying he's a reality star. He's crazy. It'll never work, which is what they said about Trump, too. A reality star, a hothead. Let me tell you, I talked to a lot of people there. The level of anger and frustration and disgust and hopelessness towards Karen Bass and all of city government is at the kind of level where something crazy could happen.
The question is, though, is that representative of the larger city of Los Angeles, which is overwhelmingly Democrat, in which Karen Bass won by 10% last time around? Your thoughts on the whole thing?
I really like Karen Bass. I think she's terrific. Can we improve our fire response? Absolutely. The biggest issue in the fires was climate change, which 99% of the world's scientists
It was started by an arsonist.
Yes, and it was.
And it's the fire department didn't put out the fire when it started rekindled.
You can shout me down.
Last point, because we're over time. But go ahead, make your point, and then.
The world's scientists understand that these massive fires and drought cycles and flood cycles are exacerbated
but Lisa,
by climate change.
to John's point,
we have had
we had a fire a couple days before that was not put out.
Yes.
There was not pre-deployment of firefighters there. We had no water in the hydrants. I mean, were those not all issues?
But we have not had these extreme weather events over and over and over again in the prior years. We have them now. They've become become normalized. But we should not ever let them become normalized.
Yes, those are. A lot to get into there. Both of you, thank you so much for bringing very strong views. Yeah, I know. We need to give more time.
There's one thing we agree.
Yeah, more airtime for both of you guys. Thank you.